let's wrap up. Give me your
Yep.
trade for Buchnevich, and then
Yep.
we can get this out basically as
Yep.
soon as possible in the morning, and hopefully nothing else happens from now until then.
Oh, amen to that. Absolutely. All right. So I've got Pavel Buchnevich going to the team that the Vegas Golden Knights defeated in the Stanley Cup Finals last year. That, of course, is the Florida Panthers. The Panthers have around $5.7 million in deadline cap space, which actually surprised me quite a bit. Just looking on Cap Friendly, and I think that Zito again is going to be aggressive and try to add and go for it again, because this team made it to the finals last year. Of course, everyone thought it was a bit of a mirage, and that couldn't be further from the truth. This team is a really good hockey team. They may be the best team in the National Hockey League, and they certainly have a chance. So I think Zito's going to be aggressive. I think he's going to add. And I think a guy like Pavel Buchnevich, who's a big winger, he's got another year left on his deal, and the Panthers would obviously have to figure that out in the offseason. And I feel like Vegas and Florida are two of those teams who kind of have that attitude. They've got some big name pending UFAs, and but they're both looking to win the Stanley Cup, and so I think their mentality is the same. That you know what, we're going to add and we're going to go for it, and we'll figure it out later.
Totally.
And so I could see the Florida Panthers doing that. So I've got Buchnevich going to the Panthers again. I think it'd be a great fit. Big, strong winger. He can score. He's physical. Would just really fit in well with the identity of the Florida Panthers. So Buchnevich to Florida, going to the St. Louis Blues, a roster player, Luostarinen, who's got a $1.5 million cap hit. He's a big body. He's relatively young, and I think would fit in well in St. Louis. Mackie Samoskevich, who was a first rounder a couple of years ago, probably Florida's best prospect right now. Justin Sourdif, who was a third round pick, a former Vancouver Giant. He's played a few NHL games this season with the Florida Panthers. A first round pick in 2026. Of course, that's the only pick that Florida can really give up, and a fourth in 2025. So when you're looking at this deal, it is very similar to the return that the Calgary Flames received from the Vancouver Canucks for Elias Lindholm, which has been reported by Pierre LeBrun, I believe it was, and you mentioned Chris Johnston, him as well, that is the kind of return that Doug Armstrong and the St. Louis Blues are looking for, the Lindholm-esque return for a player like Pavel Buchnevich. So again, Buchnevich to Sunrise, for Samoskevich, Sourdif, Luostarinen, a first and a fourth. What do you think? Deal or no deal?
Ooh, that is a big package. That is a big package. But I think it lacks some maybe like high-end prospects, and maybe someone will get mad at me for saying that. I don't know. I like Samoskevich a lot.
Yep.
But then, you've got Sourdif, you've got 2026 first, you've got a fourth. I think there's enough there. And if they want to go, and by they, I mean St. Louis, Doug Armstrong, if they want to go with a quantity over quality approach, then I think this checks all of the boxes. You're giving, you're essentially spinning the lucky wheel and hoping that one of these prospects hit, which, we've seen quantity approaches work in the past. We've seen them not work in the past. So I think if I'm St. Louis, I am saying deal to this. I'm saying yes, just because you have so many pieces. And, you said it off the top, like, what was the Friedman quote? Quoting Armstrong.
Yeah, he said the line from Armstrong as being, you can call on Buchnevich, but you're not going to like the price.
Yeah. So, and I guess this is something similar to what he was talking about. But yeah, I would go deal. I don't really like Buchnevich is a great player at a great number with a year left. it seems like a lot to give up in terms of number of pieces, but I think it works. I think the value's there. We obviously went like slightly different ways in terms of our return, but I don't necessarily have the same problem with Florida giving away their 2026 first that I did with Tampa.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think here, the 2026 first, if that's all they can give, but they've also added the fourth and a plethora of prospects, I think that kind of equals out the value. So I'm sorry, I was just talking myself through this, talking myself into it. I would say deal if I'm Doug Armstrong.
Good. And the difference between Tampa and Florida's window is just opening, really. Mm-hmm. Like, they made it to the finals last year. They could be in the finals for the next 2 or 3 years in a row here. Like, they've got a good window.
Well, they're also built differently, though. So
yeah,
like with Tampa Bay, because they've had those star players forever, I don't know. I was always more confident that they were going to do damage in the playoffs. But with Florida, I know they're a good team and they're at the top of the NHL this year and they play playoff hockey. But I don't know, that they're just built differently. So I just don't want to say right now, because they're good, that I can see them being good for the next 5 years, because I also thought that Calgary was going to be good forever too, and then they essentially didn't change anything on their team. I mean, they had one pretty big change, the Tkachuk trade, but they essentially kept like a lot of good players and got a lot worse. So I don't know. I'm hesitant to say that I think Florida will be good for the next however long, but they are pretty damn good now, and they would get even better with Buchnevich, that's for sure. But in terms of their window, I really don't know, because I think they're just built differently than Tampa. Tampa was an anomaly, I think. Like, they had so much high-end scoring, and they still do, by the way, in Kucherov, who has like 40 more points than Braden Point, which is insane. But Tampa had high-end scoring. They had toughness down the lineup. They had like 4 legitimate like top 2 defensemen at one point, and they had the best goalie on the planet. So I'm just hesitant to put anyone else in that category for now. But all of that being said, Florida's a good team now. They will be good going forward, I think. And with Buchnevich, wow, that would be scary.
Yes, absolutely. And if I'm St. Louis, and if Florida calls, I'm assuming they have or will, they haven't already. If they call St. Louis about Buchnevich, if I'm Doug Armstrong, I'm asking about Anton Lundell in a potential deal.
For
100%.
sure.
I don't think Florida would want to do that.
No.
I thought about including him in this deal, but I really don't think they want to do that. I think they see him as another Barkov, potentially. So that is why I included a guy like Lusterine in this deal, who's a good player, and he's a roster guy, and plus it helps to make the money work as well.
Yeah. I just wonder if I mean, now that I was gonna say something like, I wonder if they added their back end instead, but I look at their back end, and now that everyone's healthy, maybe they don't need to add at all. So I could definitely see it happening. But yeah, if you're Florida, you don't want to give up Lundell at all. I mean, his ceiling obviously isn't the same as Barkov, but he plays a similar style. He's
learning from him, right?
Exactly.
So,
and he's going to be a good player for a long time. So I think that would be a mistake. Plus, he helps you right now. So, you would be getting worse to get better in a sense. But I don't know. I don't think Lundell would make a lot of sense, even though if you're Doug Armstrong, like you said, that's the first guy you ask about.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.